So we are now at the 5th arena, the Spell Valley, and this is an arena with a lot of good cards as well, where I would recommend to try to push to as fast as possible. So yes, again, more legendaries, more very good cards, and as I said, I'm gonna rate the cards from 1 to 5, where 5 is super good, 1 is not very good, to say it at least, and 3 is close or very balanced. So let's start with the common cards. The first common cards in the arena is the bats. So 5 small bats cost 2 elixir. Super good card, I think. I love the card, but looking at the statistics, it made me realize it's not as strong as I thought. But the great thing about this card is the elixir cost, as I mentioned, 2 cost, and it counters so many cards, and there's not any card that is cheaper that hard counters the bats. So that's why it's very good, and it fits into many decks. Because I would give it 4, but because looking at the statistics recently, I will unfortunately have to give it a 3, because I think I'm too opinionated here. So more think about the statistic in this manner and not so much my love for the card. So a 3 out of 5 for the bats. The next card in the arena is the Fire Spirit. So 3 spirits that does AoE damage. Pretty good card. Again, 2 elixir. Does a lot, both AoE damage, but also if all 3 hits one target, it's a pretty good amount of damage to a single target as well. And it also fits pretty well into many decks. The thing is that it doesn't have again, a pretty average win rate to me and my experience playing with it in different types of plays, war, ladder, and so on. It just feels very well balanced, and therefore I will give it a 3 out of 5. So that was the Fire Spirits. And now we're gonna head into the rare cards. And the first rare card I'm gonna talk about is the building that's spawning Fire Spirits. This building is super strong, I think, because if you have it the same level as your opponent tower, you can't just leave it. It will continue to deal damage, and not just poke damage, but a lot of damage to the enemy's tower. And the building only costs 4 elixir. I think that this is the strongest building at the moment in the game, and I feel like the Infernal Tower I talked about in my last video, it kind of needs either health or a time limit nerf, so it can't just feels like it stands forever and spawn if you don't do anything about it. And it has really high win rates and starting to get more and more and more popular and still having high win rates. So I will give it 5 out of 5 for sure. It seems on the limit to being broken. It's super strong at least. So definitely a building, a card to collect right now, but hopefully they'll nerf it soon. So maybe wait to collect it, but who knows? We'll see in the future. I hope it get nerfed. So the second rare card in the arena is the Wizard. So the Wizard, again, to many new players, including myself when I was a new player, it seemed like a really strong card. And it is. It seems like, at least at a certain point, it seems like in the mid arenas to the start of Legendary Arena, it's very powerful. A lot of people use it, and it has a high win rate in that specific, but it feels like it falls off and has a poor win rate in the higher Legendary Arenas as well, Grand Tournament and so on. So therefore, I don't feel like, at first, I feel like, oh, this card needs to be nerfed, it's too strong. but now I really feel like it's actually quite balanced. I don't feel like you should touch a card just because it kind of has its peak or its highest in certain points of the game, because it just feels pretty balanced like the early arenas and later on in the legendary arena. So therefore, and looking at the statistics as well, I would give it 3 out of 5. The card seems like pretty good. Maybe could tweak its single target damage somehow, still have a lot of AoE damage, but just a little less single target damage might help it a little bit, but I still don't feel like it needs to be. I just still think it's kind of balanced. I just don't get why an AoE card has so much single target damage as well, but hey. So heading on to the epics. So the Tornado is a 3-cost spell, super good spell, because if you pull the right troops at the right certain time, it can activate your King Tower, and it's actually one of the, if not the only card that can activate your King Tower early on, and it also does a decent amount of damage and gathers. So for example, the Wizard we talked about earlier can deal damage to all just cluster units there, and it just fits into so many decks as well. So the statistics, I was surprised it's not that good. It's not bad, but it's not that good. I would still give it 4, just the fact that it can activate the King Tower, but looking at the statistics, it looks more like a 3, but I just still think it's an amazing spell with a lot of value, so I will give it 4 out of 5. The next one is the Poison. So the Poison is a spell that in an area does damage over time, and it does more damage than Fireball does, but it's an epic card, and it costs the same as a Fireball. But looking at the statistics and the use rate, it's not as popular as a Fireball, but it has a way higher win rate, and it's so good at countering different stuff as buildings, hordes, and so on. To me, this is like my favorite and best spell. I would give it 4 out of 5, because it doesn't have like crazy high win rate, but it has pretty high win rate. So 4 out of 5 for the Poison spell. Going into the legendaries is the Magical Archer that targets air and so on, has crazy long range, and also very versatile and fits into many decks. It was recently buffed. It used to be pretty bad, and now I feel it's kind of hard to place it. Some people say that it's very strong now. Some people say it's like average. Looking at the statistics and playing with the new one, I feel it's pretty average, and it's good. I like the fact that the more and more cards, or maybe when they get reworked, get also more balanced as well. And I feel like this is close to being balanced now, at least. And it's a very fun card to play. Not so fun if you get hit by a Fireball, by a tower with it, so don't play it by your tower, Princess Towers. But fun card, 3 out of 5 I would rate this, so a 3. The last legendary is the Night Witch. She periodically spawns bats and costs 4. A very level dependent card, very one-dimensional, unfortunately. It seems like she only works in beat down decks, especially with the Golem deck. But in other decks, she seems quite weak. So in the Golem deck and beat down decks, she seems strong. And in the other archetypes of decks that beat down, it just doesn't seem like she has a role there. So maybe a rework could be in its place, but it just seems like it would be nice if she got a rework. Not that because she's broken or too weak. I actually think she's quite balanced, just because she's good at something and very poor at other things, which I think pretty much every card should be like that. So I would say 3 out of 5, maybe a 2 out of 5, just because she just work in so few decks, but statistically she has just a little bit above average win rate, so therefore a 3 out of 5 for the Night Witch. So that was the fifth arena, and there's a lot of good cards here, I think, to pick from. A lot of good epics and spawner building. So yep, good arena.